Do you want to know how good is the Lunar Lancer in U10? Then I'll tell you. Hello and welcome to another JMP video. I'm your host JonNario, and yes, this time around I don't have a joke. But today I will be talking about the Lunar Lancer. How good this class it is in U10. But as always, if you want more information about me, just moving on, because everything that you will be seeing, this is pre-recorded of me before moving on from Puerto Rico. Check out my Discord server, check out my YouTube community tab, or check out on my Paracat video. You should have at least enough information in either of those three platforms. Now, let's start moving on with the Lunar Lancer. What do I think of the Lunar Lancer? Give me a first introduction of the Lunar Lancer. So the Lunar Lancer is a character that a lot of people think that it is super insanely overpowered even at early game, just because it has a lot more movement speed than the rest of the character. But in reality, this character is a little bit on the mediocre side all the way until the end game. Like at end game, that's when you're going to see this character truly shine. But at early game, at even mid game, this character it actually is a little bit lackluster because it lacks survivability. And not only that, the most damaging ability is rather low. And also the character feels a little bit clunky despite being so quickly. But keep in mind, that doesn't change the fact that the character can be extremely effective at later portions of the game. This is a character that every single update it got insane amounts of upgrades itself. This is probably the character that got the most changes during each and every single update despite the reworks. And also, like I just going to mention, because every single update, the problem with the Lunar Lancer has always been like the low damage multiplier and being so clunky in terms of its main damaging ability. But with this character, every single update we'll be getting more light and more powerful. It means that this character is becoming a little bit better and those weaknesses are becoming smaller and smaller. So yeah, that is pretty much the Lunar Lancer in a nutshell. But as always, stats. Here are the stats, just pause the video if you want. Here's my equipment. I am using critical damage and movement speed, all pieces of gear. You can use attack speed, movement speed, but I use critical damage and movement speed just because of the little bit of extra damage. And also the basic attack is pretty useless, let's be real. And yeah, I do have the standard movement speed equipment with movement speed ally, movement speed banner. I do have an energy regen ring. Despite this character attacking somewhat slow, the energy cost is rather high, and energy regeneration is extremely useful on this class. So I just have energy regeneration and the standard movement speed equipment with martial and trailblazing emblem, and also I'm using the Night Side class for extra flask. That is pretty much everything regarding my gear. Now let's move on into my gems. Here are my gems, just in case you're wondering. Like always, this character, like many others, it benefits greatly from using explosive epilogue, and also benefits from the standard movement speed equipment, which is Paradise, Vampire, Vanquisher, and Class Gem ability. Class Gem on the Lunar Lancer is not extremely mandatory, but why not get it, because it's an extra bonus and it is a stellar gem. Also, Paradise and Vampire and Vanquisher are almost a must, especially Vampire and Vanquisher, because it does help out with the lackluster survivability. And also in terms of Paradise, it does help out with the damage, which this character desperately needs. Tangled with explosive epilogue, similar to the Shadowhunter, this character needs a little bit of extra burst damage. With the Shadowhunter, it needed a little bit more crowd control, but with this character, since it is the slowest DPS character in the entire game, it needs that extra burst damage in order to kill all enemies. And you're going to definitely notice that difference if you're battling against a boss with minions. If you defeat one minion with one swing with the Crescent combo, it means that that minion is going to explode, dealing an extra 4.5 times damage multiplier to all enemies around it. It does help out greatly with burst damage, and it does help you out with one-shotting a lot of bosses. So explosive epilogue is extremely useful in this class. Now let's move on into my first opinion on the character. So my first opinion on the character, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this character is a character that it is kind of mediocre early on, but it slowly builds up in power. Unlike the Pirate is just mediocre throughout everything. This character it is very mediocre, like pretty bad, let's just say. Early game, because no survivability, no DPS, and pretty much the only thing that it has going for is the crowd control. But aside from that, at mid game it becomes a little bit more powerful, but since the multipliers are rather low, you're not going to one shot. At late game, you're definitely going to start one-shotting 1-star bosses and maybe even world bosses, but at end game is when you're going to actually see the Lunar Lancer at its fullest potential. The Lunar Lancer at end game is extremely good, which is just weird. This is a character that gains the most progression throughout every single update, because at end game you're going to one-shot a lot of bosses, which is pretty much the biggest weakness on the Lunar Lancer. You already have really good crowd control, and your speed is already above average, so it is really good. The only thing is obviously the survivability is a little bit on the lackluster side. But either way, if you're one-shotted, what's the point in just having the extra survivability, because you're already killing the enemy before he can do any damage. But even still, this character at end game, you're going to definitely notice that. If you're using a Lunar Lancer, if you're thinking of using a Lunar Lancer, make sure to build it and prepare it before just using it, because definitely you're going to notice like a big difference, a big jump if you're using the character at end game comparable to early game. Unlike some other characters which are early game benefit, well, it doesn't benefit, but they're still pretty good, like Tomb Raider Revenant, for example. So yeah, this is a character that definitely benefits greatly from just having really high stats. So yeah. Anyways, now let's start moving on into the abilities and all of the properties on every single ability. Starting off with the extremely weak basic attack. The basic attack, it is bad. This basic attack is terrible. I'm not going to say anything else, it's just bad. There's no saving grace with this basic attack. It does a 1x damage multiplier, which is already low. It also attacks at a 1.75 attacks per second, which is above average amongst all characters, but comparable to most of the characters that does 1x damage, it is slightly lower, it is slightly below average, because most of the characters that do 1x damage multiplier, all of them attack at least 2 attacks per second, Chloromancer and Neon Ninja. The only exception might be the Dino Tamer, but Dino Tamer already has his ultimate ability. With this character, no, you're pretty much stuck with a 1x damage, 1.75 attacks per second basic attack that only attacks in front of you and has, I believe it is a 4 block range. It is pretty much a bad basic. This might be one of the worst basic attack in the entire game. I'm not even going to say that much. It is super bad, just straight up terrible. Oh yeah, that's pretty much everything regarding this basic attack. I don't need to explain a lot of things. You already see the statistic on the basic attack is so bad. It is super bad. You're not going to use it as a main damaging ability because it's super slow in terms of like DPS. And not only that, it also doesn't do enough damage that you're going to kill even regular enemies one shot. Well, maybe with Martial Emblem at max stat, but early on, mid game, even late game, you're not going to do that. So might as well just don't even bother using this basic attack. Before going into the passive ability, I will be talking about every single ability, because the passive ability actually does change everything. Every single ability on the Lunar Lancer, it does change due to the passive ability. So I will be going every single ability, including the Blessing of the Moon ultimate ability, and then I'll start talking about the passive ability towards the end of the video. So starting off, I will start talking about Grappling Spear. Grappling Spear is going to be your first ability. Pretty useless ability. It could be decent in terms of mobility, but at the end of the day, it's pretty mediocre. So what it does is, this ability, when you press the ability, you're going to throw your spear. It's going to land on the ground if it is between 1 to 30 block range. So if it is about 30 block range, the spear will disappear as soon as it hits a block or something like that. But if it is between 30 blocks of where you actually throw it down, the spear is going to stick on the ground, and then you will be able to just use the grapple ability. The grapple ability is pretty much like that. It pretty much throws out a grappling hook that just grapples you directly towards the spear. If you get caught between blocks, you're going to stop mid-travel. But the thing is that this grapple actually is very good in terms of mobility, but the only problem is that the animation takes quite a while. So I will say that this ability is pretty much useless. You're not going to use this ability at all. You can try using it, but at the end of the day, I tried to use it during this recording, but no, it's just a pretty mediocre ability. I will not recommend you to use it. Just pretty much just use the regular movement speed, because at the end of the day, right now you're moving so fast in U10 that you really don't need this ability. So this ability is kind of mediocre. Anyway, when you throw down the spear, if you hit an enemy, they will do 1x damage multiplier. If you grapple the spear, the grapple will do an AoE doing 1x damage multiplier as well. The range is around 30 block in distance, so if you can throw the spear between 1 block and 29 blocks, the spear will hit the ground. Anything above that is going to just disappear. It will last for 6 seconds on the ground, and if the spear disappears, if you throw it for more than 30 range, it will have a 1.5 second cooldown, and the energy cost is just 20. But yeah, it pretty much at the end of the day, it's just a useless ability. You're barely going to use it. If anything, you're not going to use it at all. Now let me move on into the actual ability that you're going to use all the time, and probably one of the reasons why I would recommend you to have energy regeneration, considering that this ability is super slow. Now, Crescent Combo. Crescent Combo is your main damaging ability. So pretty much this ability, what it does is, when you press the ability, you're going to throw 2 swings. 1 swing, charge, second swing. Each and every single swing will take 1 second to complete. So in other words, this ability will take probably around 2 seconds to complete completely, like the animation, just 110%. The second hit will actually stun enemies for 1 second. But considering that this ability takes 2 seconds, pretty much you're not going to be able to perma-stun. It's not like the Night Spirit Squire. It will do a 4 times damage multiplier per swing, so it is a total of 8 times damage multiplier. It has a range of around 4 blocks. It hits an enemy that it is going to be an arc in front of the Lunar Lancer, similar to the Knight's basic attack. And like I just mentioned, it takes around 2 seconds to complete. Not only that, you are not allowed to just heal up whenever you're using Crescent combo, so if you're mid-animation during Crescent combo, you cannot use Flash. So make sure to just use Flash and then just use Lunar Lancer the Crescent combo, because otherwise you're going to be stuck with the Lunar Lancer Crescent combo and you will not be able to do anything. So this is one of the problems with the survivability on the Lunar Lancer. If you throw down the Crescent combo and if you get hit really hard, you have to wait until the animation is done. So that is why, like, having Vampire Vanquisher on this character is almost a must, because Vampire Vanquisher will allow you to heal up mid hits. So yeah, just use Vampire Vanquisher on the Lunar Lancer, because otherwise you're going to get stuck mid animation and you're going to die. It will happen multiple times if you don't have Vampire Vanquisher. Either way, also one thing that I will say it is very necessary, that is energy regeneration, is that this ability takes 50 energy per cast. Pretty much the standard energy is 100. If you have pretty much all of the dragons in the game, it's around 121. But even still, you can only throw at least like 2 or 3 Crescent combos before you run out of energy. So make sure to have energy regeneration so you don't have that problem. So energy regeneration, at least on Spear or Ring, very helpful on this character. It's either or, you don't need both of them. You only need just one and you're pretty much good to go. And yeah, that's pretty much everything regarding the Crescent combo. The Crescent combo, it is pretty much your only saving grace as a Lunar Lancer. That and the ultimate ability helping you out with burst damage. But aside from that, Crescent combo is just the only ability that you have. It is pretty strong, but it's not as strong as some of the other 8 times damage multiplier ability that are instant. They can do pretty much everything that this character can dish out. Let's just compare this to the Night Spirit Squire. Yes, I know, I always compare to everything to the Night Spirit Squire. It is the best ability in the entire game, in my opinion. So yeah, both of them do 8 times damage multiplier. Spirit Squire and Crescent combo. Crescent combo takes 2 seconds to complete. Spirit Squire is an instant cast ability. Both abilities stun for 1 second. This ability, the Crescent combo, takes 50 energy versus Spirit Squire that only takes 20, if I recall. Not only that, Crescent combo has a 4 block range. Spirit Squire has a 9 block range. And Spirit Squire can go through enemies similar to the Crescent combo. So pretty much Crescent combo is just a weaker version of Spirit Squire in every way, shape or form. So even though the crowd control is still pretty decent, the ability is just vastly inferior to the Spirit Squire. So might as well just use this for that purpose alone. So yeah, either way, it's still your main damaging ability. You're going to use it all the time. You're going to pretty much spam this ability 100% of the time with the Lunar Lancer. Don't even try to use basic attack, it's not worth it. So make sure to use Crescent combo. So yeah, that's pretty much your main damaging ability. Let's start talking about Blessing of the Moon now. So Blessing of the Moon is the ultimate ability of the Lunar Lancer. It's going to be a really good ability in terms of burst damage. So what it does is when you press the ability, you're going to throw down a spear that pretty much similar to the Candy Barbarian Old or Ice Age Ice Crash. It will just appear on the air and just land on the ground after half a second. After it lands, it's going to dish out a 5 times damage multiplier as soon as it hits. It's going to have an AoE of around 8 block radius. And it will give you stats if you are inside the 8 block radius, you and other nearby players. And if enemies are on the ground, they will take 0.5 times damage multiplier every half a second for 11 seconds. So in terms of like this ability pretty much is going to serve up as a burst damage ability. So you just throw it down, and you can just throw it down at the same time with Crescent combo, and you can actually just pretty much do a 9 times damage burst damage, which is really effective at even mid game. So make sure to actually do that on this ability. This ability, you are not going to use it for stats, and you're not going to use it for the AoE or whatever. You're pretty much only going to use it for burst damage. So yeah, once you're inside the radius, you're going to get 100% to your health regeneration, 20 more movement speed, and 1000 stability. And yeah, that's pretty much how it is. The health regeneration, I do believe, is 2 times. So it pretty much takes everything and just multiply it by 2. The one that you see in the character sheet, multiply it by 2. The movement speed is 20 base and the stability is 1000 base. So yeah, pretty much you're not going to take any knockback. The movement speed is plus 20 within the 8 block radius, and the health regeneration is 2 times. It's pretty alright, I guess, in terms of its stats. The 20 movement speed would have been nice if you will carry on after you get out of Blessing of the Moon, but it doesn't. You have to be inside the 8 block radius. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just an alright ability. In my opinion, it would have been better if the cooldown was at least 20 seconds. Because this ability is really good in terms of like burst damage, and it will make the character, in my opinion, a little bit more interesting. So being a 20-second cooldown would have been a little bit better with this, because it means that you can just throw it down with Crescent combo and just have a 1-2 combo with the Lunar Lancer, just have a really good burst damage. But no, it's 40 seconds and you're pretty much stuck just doing that ability once, and it will only do 5 times damage multiplier for an ultimate ability that has a 40-second cooldown. Like, for a 40-second cooldown ability is terrible. For an ability that works with the Lunar Lancer, it's pretty good because it does help out with burst damage. But aside from that, it's alright. It's an alright ability. And that's all I gotta say with the Blessing of the Moon. Now let's move on into Lunacy. Lunacy is going to be your passive ability. So whenever you hit an enemy, it's going to be random how many times you're going to hit an enemy. You're going to spawn 3 moons around your character, and they will slowly fill up the more you hit enemies. So you're going to have a chance of getting the moons level up. Once the moons are completely filled up, you're going to transform into your Lunacy mode. Once you transform into your Lunacy mode, you're going to get damage reduction, health regeneration, movement speed, and stability, and it will empower every single ability on your character. So I will be going over every single stat that you do get with the Lunar Lancer, and then I will just start talking about all of the abilities changes due to the Lunacy buff. On its own, this ability, what it does is, once you transform, you're going to get 50% bonus physical damage. This is bonus physical damage. This is the same as the Revenant's passive ability. So it is not a 1.5 times your total physical damage. It's going to be 1.5 times your base physical damage, if you want to look at it that way. 300% to your health regeneration, so 3 times your health regeneration, 30 more movement speed, and 100 more stability base. So the movement speed is also base. And to top it all out, you get minus 25% incoming damage. So you're only going to take 75% of your damage. And this ability will last for 12 seconds, and it doesn't have a cooldown, but pretty much for the most part, the cooldown is going to be the 12 seconds that it has on its duration, and then all of the times that it's going to take for you to get it all over again. So usually around 20 to 30 second cooldown on average is going to be your actual cooldown on this ability after you got out of the Lunacy. So pretty much expect around a 30 to 40 second cooldown once you get into your Lunacy mode. So yeah, pretty much that's every single stat that you do get. It's a lot of stats. It is so good that you actually do get a subclass that is pretty similar to that one. But I will say the subclass is better than even the Lunacy, because on the subclass you actually get plus 100 attack speed. With this you don't get it. Either way, once you transform, you also will spawn the Shadow Lancer, which is the classic ability, which is just going to spawn a minion that does 2.5 times damage multiplier per second. For 25 seconds, or it will die. Also, this Shadow Lancer can take damage, so it can actually just die. So yeah, that's pretty much the classic ability. Either way, what it does to every single ability is, for Grappling Spear, you should have teleport, but this has been bugged for God knows for how long. But what it does is, when you throw down the spear, it will hit on the ground, and you should press the ability again, and you should have teleported. But with this, you are not allowed to teleport. Pretty much this ability is bugged. All you gotta do is just keep throwing down the spear. The spear will have pretty much double its size, so double AoE, double everything except the damage. The damage is still 1 times damage. Either way, it's pretty useless on the Grappling Spear. On the Crescent combo, what it does is, on the second hit, instead of just stunning the enemy, you are going to knock the enemy up, and the stun will increase to 2 seconds. This is good in terms of like stun, but I don't know why they just made it so it knocks everything up. So 2 seconds of stun is good, but knocking everything up, like knocking enemies up, is just kind of why. And for the Blessing of the Moon, what it does is, once you throw down the spear, you have to be in Lunacy mode before you throw down the spear. So it doesn't work if you're prior to Lunacy and then you throw down the spear and then you transform into Lunacy. You have to be in Lunacy, then throw down the ultimate ability to get this effect. Once you throw down this effect on Lunacy mode, you're going to start spawning a small meteorite around the AoE on the Blessing of the Moon. Each and every single meteorite, I do believe, does 1 times damage multiplier. Future Me is going to have all of the text on that one, but I don't remember on that one. But it's going to start spawning small meteorites, and each and every single meteorite will do damage, and they will destroy blocks. So be careful where you throw this ability down if you're in a club world, or if you're in your cornerstone and your cornerstone can take damage. Yeah, that's pretty much everything that it does. It pretty much just gives small increases to all of the abilities. And yeah, that is pretty much every single ability on the Lunar Lancer. Now let's start talking about my own personal opinion on the character. At the end of the day, this character still needs buffs. It pretty much relies heavily on just using Crescent combo. Crescent combo is a little bit too slow, so in my opinion, would have been better if they just increase the Crescent combo or allow you to heal between Crescent combo. Or just, I don't know, make it that it does more damage. I don't think it needs much more damage, but more damage will be a little bit better. But for the most part, what would have been better is just increase the speed, also allowing you to heal mid Crescent combo. So yeah, that would have been my better option. Basic attack needs some buffs, Grappling Spear needs some changes altogether, and the Blessing of the Moon maybe a little bit increase in damage because it's a little bit weak for an ultimate ability that has a 40-second cooldown. So yeah, either way, this character is extremely solid at end game. That's where you're going to see this character truly shine. Late to end game, most specifically end game, where you can actually start one-shotting with Crescent combo, and pretty much the momentum on this character will be pretty decent and pretty good, and the higher above average movement speed is going to actually truly shine above most of the characters in the entire game. And yeah, that's going to be pretty much everything on the Lunar Lancer. Thank you for watching, thank you for sticking around as always. Be on the lookout on the next episode on Monday at 3 PM Eastern Standard Time, which I'll try to cover on the Gunslinger. So be on the lookout on that one. Thank you everyone once again for watching, thank you for sticking around as always. Leave a like if you want to help the channel grow, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and that is all for today. Once again, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Take care and keep on hunting.